Hello. Apparently I can start.
Yes.
Yeah, so my name is Andisiwe Jukuda. I'm going to be presenting a paper I co-authored with Kathleen Digger on the information cost of unemployment. And specifically, I'll be looking at youth unemployment. Worldwide, youth unemployment is an issue. Over like 75 million youth are unemployed. And of that, 23% are youth of the total working poor, which are defined as those working but living below the less than $1 per day poverty line. And South Africa is no exception. The government has issues with dealing with unemployment. Just looking at the total unemployment, it's 4 million, and of that 4 million, 3 million belong to the 15 to 35 years cohort. And just looking at the new entrants into the unemployment category, you find that 53%, just over 53% of those are those who have just recently completed high school but cannot further their studies. And other entrants belong to those who did not finish their high school and who usually drop out mostly because of socioeconomic issues and social issues. Factors to unemployment include personal and situational, such as lack of experience. In South Africa, for a new job, you need at least 2 to 3 years experience, at least. And you know, the other, for instance, limited means of traveling to jobs. A lot of jobs are, of course, concentrated in large cities that are quite obviously far from rural areas. And you have a situation where you have skills mismatch, where a lot of graduates are graduating with qualifications that are not needed by the job market. No opportunities, poor economy, gender discrimination. You can't do much about this if you're just a person who's looking for a job. Just looking at the cost of job searching, first have to prepare CV typing, contact references, job searching costs, accessing job information about jobs, and if you're lucky enough to apply and get called for interview, you have those sort of costs that are involved. And I mean, this is quite expensive, especially from a perspective of a developing country. This guy, Chris Benner, he did a study in about 4 countries, and he basically said that there's a huge uptake of ICT and mobile use, and perhaps maybe it is time to see how ICT could now help, in terms of youth unemployment. As you can see, over 85% of the youth have their own mobile phone. So it's a space that can be exploited. And if you look at ICT in South Africa, only 9% do not have households do not have access to either a landline or cellular phone, and you can see that there's also an uptake in rural areas of ICT, where households which are historically provinces rather, which are historically rural areas, also have access to the use of ICT and cellular phones. But what we see in the South African case, I think also it would be in other countries, is that the ICT uptake reflects the socio-economic sort of patterns within the country, where like provinces like Gauteng and Western Cape, which were historically white areas, do have most access to internet and mobile phones. In South Africa, the government does use ICT, especially the internet and newspapers, to advertise jobs, trying to connect the unemployed youth, to jobs. But the problem is, who is the information for? Because, of course, with the numbers of unemployment, and also there seems to be a disconnect between information provided by the government and the majority of the unemployed. And this is basically one of the issues, the digital divide. If you look, especially there's actually all of them. I would say, especially those two. But if you just look geographically, I mean, in South Africa, obviously you still have your rural areas, townships, and urban areas and so on and so forth. They don't have, I mean, especially in rural areas, the rural areas that they don't even have electricity yet. What about those youth that are in those areas? Clearly they're not getting information. Technological skills. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking just because someone owns a mobile phone, they know how to use it, or fully know how to use it, but they don't. So we have those issues. And I mean, if you're just talking about the use of mobile phones as a medium of mitigating the issues of unemployment. If you look at, again, Chris Bennett's study, one of the benefits of this is you don't have to travel. You use the service whenever you want to check the internet, and it's probably the only way to have access to that service. So for instance, if a job post is in Joburg and you're in the Eastern Cape, you can't be traveling, because of course transport costs are also involved. So the rationale for my study, which is an exploratory study really, Newcastle researchers were asked to host an e-discussion topic on looking for jobs 2 years ago. And within this week, it was clear that while many youth were using their business or social networks to search for jobs, there were also some who were using social media and online tools. The report reveals a gap of understanding what and how are youth using ICT tools to search for jobs, as well as the cost of implications. And really what we want to look at is what are the current ICT mediums used, for instance, by the government and other companies to give out information about employment, the awareness of youth about these communication mediums, and the cost involved in accessing. And basically what we want to know is it inclusive enough, the mediums and the information given out. Does it include people of all socioeconomic backgrounds? Does it include people from rural areas equally with people from urban areas? So we used SIM's capability approach. Just basically, I'm sure almost everyone knows about this, but just assumes that not everything is limited to economic measures of development. It includes a range of human dimensions, such as ICT providing resources that can enable or provide tools to development, and also use the digital poverty, which examines at a household or individual units of analysis the possible deprivation of capabilities and society. So what we did, like I'm saying, this was an exploratory study, just testing the waters, and we yet to go in depth with the study. So what we decided to do is just approach students coming from different backgrounds, which were representing different types of communities at UKZN. But we did not only go there, we also went to a township nearby, Umlazi. And this is the levels of education. And what we basically asked was about the access of ICTs within their communities, their methods of searching for jobs, and the cost of looking for jobs. And unsurprisingly, there were those who had no access at all in their communities to computers. And those people belong to townships and rural areas. But surprisingly, townships, there were a lot of participants who stayed in the townships relatively do have access to a computer. Okay, there are computers there, other places, right? But not necessarily have access to them. I'll get into that now. But also, I mean, you see that in the townships now, there's a lot of development in terms of putting in internet cafes and so on and so forth. Rural areas, of course, this was sort of expected. Okay. So looking at cost, mostly third years were looking for jobs, and they were using university facilities, so for them it was free. But when they're home, obviously there are issues. Now, the matriculates that we spoke to, they didn't use computers, and only one first year thought of about looking online for jobs. And then those living in the townships with access alluded that they only use internet cafes only when they have money. Mediums to access, used to access employment information, as expected, most of them were from third years. And of those who have to access internet cafes, they said that per hour, the highest rate was 32 Rand to access, which is quite expensive for if you're unemployed. And the longest distance traveled to a computer was 20 kilometers. And then you have mobile phones. Was a very low uptake of the use of mobile phones. And one of the reasons is that when you sometimes try to download a page, not everything comes up. So yeah, they didn't use that. And there was also a cost of airtime, to buy data. And all the matriculants the 3 matriculants that we had spoken to, they all use newspapers. So I think what basically we can say is that the more exposure you have to the use of computers, the more likely you are going to use them. Okay, so the government in South Africa has a few sites that are dedicated just to youth and providing them with jobs and information. And if you look at the 30 students, 23 knew about this one, 14 have never used it, that site, and they don't always use it. Same story here, they know about the sites, but they don't use them. And clearly there's sort of a mismatch between, government, the mediums in which the government is using to provide information to the youth. There's something that's happening there. And what we sort of envision, or rather would like to see happen, is that new mobile technologies that are which are cheaper, aimed at servicing the youth. For instance, you have the MSR, South Africa website that allows day laborers to sign up, that are linked to any casual job. So what we're really looking at is that you have people just entering the job market. How do they get information, And we also want a strategy that services everyone, not only university graduates, because as you've seen in my previous slide, a large number of people that have not completed high school are also entering the job market. And of course, there's a program by Mixit, which a lot of people, even rural areas, they use Mixit, So it's a Mixit online platform which allows users to create a mobile CV and search for relevant work. So it's much more accessible looking at in terms of the uptake of mobile phones. So Mixit, and it's quite cheap. So it's one of the ways in which government could use a platform that could be used by government companies. So we sort of made a few recommendations. Of course, I did say that we still are yet to do an in-depth study now with a larger population and so on and so forth. But firstly, government could develop a low-cost mobile platform like the Mixit, but it could be now at a bigger scale in terms of the government taking that initiative. And also, looking at also the cost of airtime, it's quite, it's quite pricey. So we could look at ways in which this could be, mobile costs could be drastically cut. I've got someone who's been burning and trying to ask a question.
No, 1 minute left.
Oh, okay. Okay, then I'm done. Thank you. End.